Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. This 30-minute podcast features a new author interviewed by me every single day, 365 days a year, for about 30 minutes. I am also the publisher for Zibby Books, which publishes 12 books a year in fiction and memoir. Our books are already out now. You can check it out on zibbybooks.com. And we have a magazine called Zibby Mag, where we have lots of wonderful essays and lifestyle features. That's at zibbymag.com. We have classes at zibbyclasses.com. And I recently opened a bookstore in LA called Zibby's Bookshop at 1113 Montana Avenue at 11th Street in Santa Monica. I hope that you are able to enjoy some of our other offerings. But this here podcast is the basis of all of it and started in 2018. And no matter what I do, this is basically my favorite thing. Enjoy. Harold Rogers is the author of Tropicália, a novel. Harold Rogers was born in Steubenville, Ohio, to an American father and a Brazilian mother, and grew up between the United States and Rio de Janeiro. He holds a BA in philosophy from Miami University in Ohio and an MFA from Columbia University. He lives in New York City, where he works as a boxing coach and a stand-up comedian. Welcome, Harold. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss your novel, Tropicália. Tropicália? Kalia? What do you think?
Tropicália, yeah, that's right.
Okay, wonderful. Well, tell listeners about your book. What's it about? Why'd you write it? All the good stuff.
All right. Well, really, it's about two siblings, Daniel and Lucia, who are in their 20s, and they're living in Rio with their grandparents and their young cousin. And their dad is dead, and their mom left several years ago to marry some guy in the United States and kind of ditched them, and they've been estranged for several years. And after their grandpa dies, Lucia calls her mom and kind of invites her back into town, and she comes back with her husband, and chaos kind of ensues from there. And so it takes place over the New Year's Eve holiday in Copacabana, which is kind of a big deal. It's like a huge event, like 1 million people are on the beach. It's crazy. Yeah, and it's told in mostly from Daniel and Lucia's perspective, but the grandparents have a chapter, the mom has a chapter, and the young cousin has a chapter. So it's told in several first-person voices.
Interesting. And you chose some interesting sort of devices with no quotes and sort of this train of thought, dialogue style. Very cool.
Yeah. So the no quotes is something that it seems to, people really mention that. And I think when I was writing it, I wasn't even thinking about like that it would have that kind of jarring impact like that. I think with the no quotes, what I was doing is like, because there's some chapters that are no quotes and some chapters where the quotations are in M-dash quotation marks. And I think what I was going for was like the chapters with no quotes, I wanted it to seem like everything was being talked. Like Daniel's chapters are all him talking. So there's no quotation marks. It's all him talking, like, you know. And in the M-dash, like I think of those chapters as more written. And like in Brazil, there's no quotation marks. It's M-dash dialogue in all the books. So you know, that's why I did that.
Yeah. So it was not intentional at all. You're like, I just forgot the quotes, and now that's all anybody wants to talk about.
Some people were like reading the galleys, like, I think there's an error here. Like it's a typo. There's no quotes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So where did this novel come from? Actually, before that, where did you come from? So you're from Rio. You're from Rio? No.
Yeah, kind of.
And how old are you? Can I even ask how old you are?
I'm 26.
Oh my gosh. Okay. 26.
So my mom is from Rio and my dad is from Ohio, right? So growing up, like I kind of had a strange upbringing where I was born in the United States in Ohio, but...
What part of Ohio?
Steubenville, Ohio.
Okay.
You ever heard of it?
My mom's family's from Dayton, so...
Okay, that's like on the other side. I know a lot of people from Dayton. Dayton's cool. So my dad was working out of the country a lot when I was young. So my mom would take me and my sister to Brazil just like because her parents were there and just have some support, you know, taking care of us. And then it became like up until high school, she would take us out of school for like several months at a time and just homeschool us in Brazil. So I was really going back and forth from Ohio and Rio back and forth, you know, and you know, in high school too, like I would go there twice a year. So I spent a lot of time in Rio and in Ohio. So I really think of myself as Brazilian American, you know.
Awesome. I can't imagine there's a direct flight from Ohio
No, from Pittsburgh, actually. Pittsburgh's pretty close to Steubenville. So it's, it worked out like that.
You know, there you go. And when did you start writing?
Just writing in general?
Yeah. Like when did you realize you liked writing? How did you end up with a novel? Why are we even talking? How did this happen?
So I started writing, I think in high school, my senior year probably is when I got into literature and stuff like that, because I felt unprepared for college. So I just looked up 100 best novels and was just trying to read whatever I could. And then I, kind of just liked writing and making stuff up, but it was kind of a secret pursuit for a long time. No one in my life even knew I was writing this novel until it was in galley form. Right. And I ended up getting my MFA, kind of as an accident. I applied to one program and I got in, and then I was like, maybe I should try this. And the novel came together. It really came together during the pandemic, I think, is when, that was the longest time I'd ever been away from Brazil. And I kind of had a couple chapters of this, but I really was focusing in, and it just felt good to kind of live in those memories, live in Rio in that way. And I had some family members die in Rio during that time. And so it was nice to just live in the book for a while.
So you didn't do any pandemic time there. You were in Ohio the whole time?
I was in Ohio the whole time. Yeah.
Did your dad stay back with you, or was he traveling?
Yeah, my dad, my parents were both in Ohio at the time. Okay. So it was.
Wow. Well, you have a scene early in the book where you're coping. A lot of people are coping with all different kinds of loss all at once, right? The grandmother, the parent, people are actually even kind of joking about it because it's so awful that you sometimes just have to laugh type of thing. And how loss actually can really bond people together quicker than almost anything, right? Shorthand. I lost a parent. I lost a parent. I lost this.
Definitely.
So tell me a bit about the role of loss in the book and how you chose that.
Well, I think, loss plays an enormous role in the book. I think everyone has someone missing from their life in a big way, a big hole to fill. My parents are both alive, thankfully. While I was writing the book, my grandpa died and my uncle died. And I saw how, my uncle had a young daughter at the time. And I saw just the impact of that. Right. And, there's a lot of people in my life who have lost parents at an late age. And I've always it's such a profound impact, not having that guidance there. Right. And so I think that the book is really about, how to cope with those absences. What do you do when Daniel and Lucia's mom left and they don't have a dad? Who do you cling on to? Lucia does it in, I think, better ways than Daniel, and where she's trying to be responsible for her young cousin who doesn't have either of her parents, and she's responsible for her grandma too, and they kind of have a close knit thing. And Daniel's just kind of running away from the whole loss the whole time, right? He's just trying to cavort and romp around and have fun, and eventually that catches up to him. But I think I toward the end he finds that connection with Lucia that I think they both need from each other.
Where did the characters come from? When you said, how did this, where did the book start? Was it the idea of Rio? Was it and this time of year? When you started working on it, what was the sort of driving force? What did you, I know you said you were missing Rio and, far apart and lost and all of that, but where did the characters themselves come from? And which one came first, or was it all just a messy thing?
Well, Daniel and Lucia, they came first, because I was I was dabbling around with some stories that involved them, but I didn't really know. I knew they were siblings, and then I decided it's kind of silhouettes of my own family in a certain extent that, took life on a life of their own. Daniel and Lucia live in the building where I grew up in Rio, the same exact address, right? But they live on a different floor, which I think is a metaphor that holds for the whole relationship to my life, right? And I have a twin sister. Lucia is younger, So I was kind of thinking in counterfactuals with my own life. What if, I didn't have a twin sister? What if I had a younger sister and her paternity is in question, like Lucia's is, right? Yeah. And what if, instead of my dad sticking around and being a good man, right? And what if he just ditched my mom and left her to deal with, because there's an economic disparity, right? When an American man marries a Brazilian woman, like that's, and like the dad in the book, just, he wasn't interested in being a support to his Brazilian family. Right. And that creates a whole different set of circumstances. And so I think I started with these little silhouettes and just started thinking through like how my life could have been different in different respects. And the book came together out of that.
That's a really, I mean, it's smart. I feel like I just finished this novel and I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to model this after this person, but I'm just going to change this little thing. And I wonder if they're going to notice. Oh my goodness. I have boy-girl twins actually. So tell me what.
Oh, really?
Yes, they're 16.
Oh, cool.
I know. They're like closer in age to you than I am. But how is your relationship with your twin and how has that been as you've gotten to this age?
Well, we're really close now. We're really good friends. We work together. Right. And, so we're really good friends. But growing up, there was certainly some strife there. And it's a complicated relationship, having a twin sister like that. And I really think that the sibling relationships are like the core of the book. Mm-hmm. Daniel and Lucy's, they're the main two. And I think that is, and like their mom's relationship with her sister is a huge part of the book, and how they never got along at all. And it was always strife, and they ended up, it became a tragedy for them because they were just separate like that. And I was kind of, hoping the arc was like Daniel and Lucy would end up, as tight, and then choose that family relationship in a way that their mother and, her sister didn't. Right.
Yes. Amazing. Okay. So you go to your MFA program, you work on this book. Tell me about the whole publishing journey. How did this become a book deal? Just tell me the story.
So I had this was the only thing I worked on throughout the whole MFA. And I thought I was done with it. Like 1 year in the MFA, I was like, I'll leave here and I'm going to get a book deal. I'm so glad I stayed because the book was not ready at all, and then, so I finished and I had, this book, it was my thesis, and I was trying to query agents and the book wasn't ready. I thought it was ready a lot sooner than, if I had known how many drafts it would take to really get the book ready, I don't know. I would have continued, really. So I had one professor, Rivka Galchin, who really was, knew the work really well. And she was a real supporter of it. And after a long time querying people and not getting anything, I hit her up and she kind of connected me with somebody, and he read it and he liked it. He really got the book and he became my agent. Right. And then a long process of revision again, and then sent it out to publishers. And when I sent it out, it was ready, but it got a lot of rejections. Only one house wanted it, right? Atria was the only one that wanted it. And so after I sold it, I rewrote every single word of the book, like from zero, and which I really needed to do. And it finally turned into what I wanted, so it was a lot of rewriting.
So you basically never want to see this book again.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. That's amazing. By the way, only one. You don't need more than one.
No, exactly. Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
I think it's good because all the publishers really are looking for slightly different things. So if I'm not even going to wait. I think that's great. So what happened? Tell me the story of when you found out that it sold. Were you over the moon excited? Were you was there some sort of, do you even remember? Was it a whole thing?
Oh, I remember because the week before I was in the pits of despair. I was like,
oh no.
I was like, if I can't sell this one, I don't know, I'm gonna have to write another one. And so it was, and then, I was really low. And the next week it sold, and it was just a huge relief. It was, I was really happy about it.
Are you working on another novel, or are you I never want to do this again?
No, this is what I like to do. I love novels. I'm working on one now. I don't like to talk about it too much till it's done. I don't want to jinx it, So it's pretty, but I am working on another novel. hopefully, continue to do that for a long time.
You'll rewrite it 57 times. And
Yeah.
and you said you work with your sister. What do you do when you're not
I'm a
writing?
boxing coach.
You're a boxing coach.
Yeah, that's my day job. And at Church Street Boxing Gym in Manhattan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Do you know that gym?
No, but I used to go to Punch. Do you know where that is?
Okay, yeah.
East Side. Actually, I remember this was a while ago, but I used to work out a lot when I wasn't working at a job and I was at home with my kids. That was my one escape. And I remember I accidentally got this black eye because my daughter like flipped her head at this weird angle and just happened to catch my eye. And I had this horrific black eye. And I remember going into the gym and all the guys like swarmed around me. They're like, no, you got to get like a cold spoon and you have to do this. And, like they had all these tricks for making my face. But yeah.
That's funny.
Boxing is fun.
Yeah.
And how did you get into boxing?
That was, I was a kid and I was getting bullied,
Aww.
and there was a gym across the street in Rio where I was living. And, my parents were like, you should try boxing maybe. And then I tried it and I loved it. And, I ended up fighting in college. I fought, I had 16 amateur fights, and then actually my when I was boxing, my sister was like my trainer. She would corner me for my fights. And she ended up getting a job at this gym while I was in school. And then she got me the job after which was good.
Wow. That's so great. So you could really just have, people who rejected your manuscript come into the ring and just,
They want a piece of me.
Yeah. Wow. Funny. What an interesting whole background and story. It's so cool. What do you like to read in your spare time?
I like to read a lot of different stuff. I try to balance the reading in English and Portuguese. Like I'll go 1 month here and then another month there. And then, there's a whole backlog of old books that, I'm still trying to get worked through, Faulkners of the world and the Morrisons, right? And balancing that with more contemporary stuff, but a lot of different things. And when I'm writing, some people say they can't read like novels and stuff while they're writing because it affects. That doesn't trouble. I like reading something and then you get that energy from that person, especially if it's something good and you see it in, come out in your own writing. Maybe you're writing a little like them and then later on you iron it out, right? And make it more yourself. But I think that energy is good, like taking that energy from.
Yeah. I like that. Very cool. So what advice do you have for aspiring authors?
I would just do it. Keep working. That's it, right? Like you might have to rewrite it a million times, but it'll be worthwhile, eventually. Don't think about how much you'll have to do it. Just keep doing it. Think it's wonderful after every line. Persistence is the biggest thing with this, right?
Yeah. And I'm just curious from your take on entering into this industry, right? What has it been like? And I know the book has not come out, but it will have been out by the time this airs. But what have your impressions been of this industry and how it's all working? And is this kind of what you thought of publishing and all of that?
It's been interesting, right? It's been interesting to see because, it's like my agent, my editor are so smart and I think I was surprised at how much they would get the book and like understand the things I was trying to do and, be able to even give me good ideas on what I should do. Like, I didn't think I was going to get good editorial notes like that. But I think I didn't know anything about publishing at all, like anything at all, even coming out of MFA, I didn't. So I think I was surprised at like the long silence before, I ended up getting connected with people. And then, there could be a lot of silence in it. But when you find some people there's a lot of smart people in the industry that, know books and they love books and they're good at what they do. And I was impressed by that.
Awesome. Have you met other authors? Like, do you know other authors?
Yeah, I know a few. I have some friends from school and, I've met some people that my agent works with too. But like someone was asking me about sharing my work with other people, like a writing community. So I think I'm so shy about my writing that I don't like to share it with, like when we'd have workshops in school. That would make me so, I hated that. So many people reading it like that.
No, I'm like, don't give me any changes. Just tell me it's perfect.
Exactly. That's all you need.
That's what I want you there for. Or else this has to magically change itself.
Yeah.
You're like staring at it and being like, what now? Oh my goodness. Okay, great. Well, congratulations. It's exciting to sort of welcome. I feel like I should be this like, welcome to the world of publishing.
Thank you for the welcome.
No, it's so fun to have someone young. I'm going to take your book and give it to my son upstairs who's like, practicing his driving and just being like, all right, read this book. You could do this in just a couple years. So
nice.
But it's inspiring to, for younger people, for not younger people, that it can be done, right? You can just do it and
definitely be done.
It does happen.
I was surprised that it could be done.
Great. Living to tell. So there you go. Well, good luck with your launch and congratulations.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.